How you doing, Brian? Happy Easter. Good morning. Good everything. Is the sound and video okay? Hi, Eugene. Primchi. How you doing? Can you guys hear all right? Is the sound okay? Hi, Alex. Graham. Sound and video are good. Great. Okay. Um, Let me get some stuff here, and we will get started. There we go. Okie doke. It's too much. Hang on a second. There we are. Ah. Oh, okay. Did I have the wrong times listed? Uh-oh. No picture and no sound? Okay, I do have picture and sound. Okay, Brian, maybe some adjusting on your end. Marco, how are you? Okay, good. Um, I never know what gender's on. Okay, here's what I want to do today. This is our first meeting, and I'd like to have the same meeting at the same time. It looks like I got the times messed up. Okay, you got everything, Brian? Good. Sorry about the time thing. I don't know how I got it goofed up, but I did. So, this is the first time we've done this, so I'm hoping that was how come I put the GMT time. At least I can get that right. Okay, hiya, Spirit. Marco, good all to see you guys. Okay, now here's what I want to do today. Now, some of you guys, like Hater, have been on other projects, and he can help out on this one too. And uh, what I want to do is start off with this: is that this this project is it looks like, well, we're simply making a guilloche for the same watch. Well, yes and no. Let me explain a few things. First of all, start with the case. The case has a teardrop belt. Apparently, it's a fairly complex case. It doesn't. I mean, when you look at this, it's a nice thin case, very much what you'd expect to find in a watch of this nature. Hi, Owen. How's your football team doing? Owen's at a football game, so I think a lot of you'd like to be would rather be at one too. Okay. Oh, winning, great. Uh, so let's talk about the some of the stuff that's happened so far, and where we're going to go next. Hi, Apar. How you doing? Uh, First of all, the case with the teardrop belt. When we first did this, there were a lot of development costs from the designer, from the Wootenlanen and Caton. We have none of those. We're using exactly the same case with the same movement, and the dial will have the dial thickness is going to be fine. We checked on that because we're adding guilloche, but guilloche is we're going to do it so that it looks like great guilloche and but still fit the case and the movement that we already have. So that's a good thing. So we didn't have to pay for that, but we did have there were some other costs that went up associated with the case. All of these have been posted, and it's important, I think, if when I post something with something that we paid, it's important that everybody take a look at it because it's our money, and someone beside me has to know where it's going. All right, because my money's going to the same place as everybody else's. So that's the first thing we have, and that was the first payment. We paid 30% down, and I don't have the figures in front of me, but they are on the Etude number 2 site. So you can always take a look at that. Hi, mate. Um, okay, so that's the first thing that's already taken care of. When I talked to the rep there, uh, by now, another good thing, a lot of these people know who we are. They know Lyrique now because we're not new anymore, and one of the things I think we have a good reputation for paying on time, and that's important for lots of reasons. Um, okay, so that's we got started on that. They had to order. It takes 4 to 5 months for the sapphire glass, and so they've started working on the other parts of it, and this all takes a lot more time than your typical case. This is really no off the shelf case by any stretch of the imagination. So it'll again, this is they're working on that. Second of all, the AGH 6801 movement, there may be some slight changes, I think, for improvements that Agonor may be making in that, but they're very, very minor. I was hoping they would call it the 6801.1 or something like that, but we'll see. Um, Now the plate at 3 o'clock, um, I call it at 3 o'clock, is one that let me tell you where we are on that one so far. This is the one that I'm talking about, the one right here. It's you can just, on the back, if you're looking at it, it'll be over in the 3 o'clock area. Seeing it on here, it probably looks like it's over toward the 9 o'clock area. But anyway, it's this particular plate. Now, when we had our watch made, the plate was a little cockeyed, and that was because some changes were made that when we when we had the added gear put in, I guess things got knocked off a whack a little. That to me was a delight. So it's not showing that they didn't just sort of pull something off the shelf and put it on there. Uh, they did have those some specs, and those specs have to be changed. Now, there are two different ways that we can go on this, and we'll see what they are. Um, First of all, on that particular plate, I had asked him, I said, maybe we could have, some kind of decoration, some engraving like they have on, on German balance cocks, all of the little vines and the different kind of decoration. I thought it'd look cool. Or the other option was, well, let's, once we get the Hilo Shea design, let's maybe put that there. That would be another neat thing we could do. This was done in the Rolex Prince is the only place I know of that. Hey, Expert 37. So anyway, so this is where we're going on that. Uh, the problem they said is that in there's the balance cocks are fairly thick compared to the plates on the back of a movement, and so there may be some kind of problems because the this particular plate it may be too thin for any deep engravings. Maybe they could work something out, but I'd like to see something there. Or they could simply straighten out the Geneva waves, which would be, if we don't want to turn this thing into a more expensive. Now, the other thing about this is that another thing, the AGH 6801, the first group, it cost us $25,000 just for the design of the movement. Oh, and so we don't have to pay that, which is a good thing. Very happy with that, because it's already we're using the same movement. We ordered 102. We also ordered 102 cases, and this was 30% down. So we still have 70% to go, which we'll pick up later. Okay. Third, Mathieu Allegri, Bureau de Design. Mathieu is going to be in charge of the Guilloche dial and hands design on that. And what he's doing now, was to start. They have some kind of formula or something because he's going to be doing an original motif for us, an original guilloche design. Uh, so we'll see how that goes. All right. Right now, what he's got to do, he's got to get a design done, and then we're going to go to Comme les Mines, which is the name of the movement company, not movement, but the company that's going to be doing the dial and the hands and the guilloche. Turns out that this company is also at least partially owned by Kari Voutilanen. So we get a sort of a semi Voutilanen watch on this because the case is done by Voutilanen and Caton, and Comble Mine is the name of the company that is doing the guilloche. It does the guilloche on Kari Voutilanen's watches and some other ones as well. So we gotta, uh, but anyway, I guess Matthew is going to work out the best deal he can, but he needs to have the patterns first, and this is what he's working on now. Okay, so now once he's got a design worked out, we got to look at it and say, is this going to be okay or not? And I think that it's best to sort of wait until we see what's there before we say, "Oh, I want this one that's just like Lane," or "This is just like somebody else." One of the things we've tried to do with Lyrique and Hader, our Owen's at a football game. I don't know if you'll hear this. Uh, you can jump in anytime you want. Um, the the whole issue of this has to do with we don't want to be like anybody else, not everybody else, but anybody else. We want to have something unique. And while you say, "Oh, I like this and I like that and I like this and I like that," that's fine. Those are great. I mean, people have sent me some examples of things that they like, but don't think we're going to do it like that. And because we don't want to. I mean, why would we pay all this extra money for a guilloche that we're going to have uniquely done if it's like everyone else's? If you haven't looked at it yet, there's a whole, I guess, catalog that Comble Mine has of all of the different patterns they have. And to tell you the truth, I'd be perfectly happy to take any of those patterns and use them. They're classic guilloche patterns. And then we could have sort of one pattern for the background of the main dial, and then another background for the background of the sub dial, and have some kind of mix that nobody else has using off the shelf ones. But I don't think we're going to have to do that. We'll see what Matthew comes up with first. But like I said, this is something I think it's best while we can say, "Hey, I like this and I like that." Um, Keep in mind that that we there are 100 of us on this, and are almost 100, and so we want something that we like. But on the other hand, let's face it, we don't want something that looks like, I guess the one snotty remark that somebody made. "Oh, that must look like a committee made it." We don't want that. We want something that's fully integrated. But on the other hand, I mean, it's our watch. We can't. We've got to recognize that, and we don't want something that we don't like. On the other hand, be prepared to have something that you disagree with. I've got more things in this watch that I disagreed with, uh, but everybody else wanted to go another way. So, I mean, there's a point. Actually, I should say, rather than that, we reach a consensus. We don't work with a majority. I may have told this before. The reason we don't work with the majority, we don't want to watch that 51% like and 49% hate. We want to work to something that we all like, or at least to get to a point of consensus. If you think you know a lot about watches, that's good. I thought so too when I first started this project. But this is a wonderful opportunity to learn a whole lot about the business of watchmaking. Okay, let's see. All right, so that's it. And so now I'd like to open it up for any questions that you guys have, especially the new guys, because I think it's important. Yeah, this is another thing about this whole project. It really needs to be very open. If I get something, I will pass it on, and so please use the our Facebook page to do that because that I think is going to be important for us. Okay, Eugene, are we doing 100% handmade rose engine, guilloche dial, or CNC? We're using CNC. The price difference is it's about $1,000 for CNC, and it's between 3,000 and 3,500. Um, I think the difference in terms of the quality may be fairly hard to recognize. I read some articles by people who don't know a thing about they think they know, but they say, "Oh, well, only this kind of purchase." I got a feeling, I mean, well, for example, the guilloche on my FP Journes is stamped. Now, stamped is, I think, about $65 or something, but the CNC is, um, a lot more, but it's also a lot less than the, uh, using a Rose engine. So it was something that we had decided on, that was what we budgeted it on. But I think what I'm hoping that we'll have before they go into, full tilt boogie on this thing is to have an example that we can look at that's actually done on that. We'll see. We haven't done guilloche before, so this is new to a lot of us. Okay, Prince Shi, really, do we have a better understanding of the aesthetic difference between CNC or a hand lathe? We're trying to get that. That's a good question. That's exactly the kind of question that we need to find out about. Um, there's the information that I've been trying to find. What I'm hoping that we can do is that once we have a deal, once we're making a deal with Combamine, we can see exactly what that difference is. Um, that's going to be important. Owen's point, we've got to work together. There is no substitute for that. There are no prima donnas. We just don't have room for that. We don't have time for it. And so be wise, okay? All right. Hater, we've got to trust Matu. Yeah, he really does a great job. That's the other thing that's very important. Um, I think I've mentioned this story. When I did my first book a long time ago, my wife at that time did she was an artist and she did a cover design. So I sent it into the publisher, and they said in the sweetest way, he said, "Well, we have professionals who do that," and I ended up with a cover. There was a movie and play at the time called Sleuth, and the artist who did that did the cover to my book. Huge difference. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Mark, I believe the last info we were going with CNC, and as a Rose engine guilloche alone would have bumped the price up by several thousand. Yeah, that's true, Mark. Mate, I mean, yeah. In my mind, Lyrique means like no other. That's very nice way of putting it, Brian. I like that. Okay, Pressy, do you think it would be possible to get a sample of both CNC and Rose engine? That's what I hope to do. That's a good point. That is exactly what I'd like to do. Say, hey, can we see what so we can look at it ourselves? Hi, Brady Lee. If I'm not mistaken, there is no discernible difference between CNC guilloche and hand turned, as they're both done on the same Rose engine. It's just that one is controlled by hand and the other is by CN. I I'm not sure if that's correct or not. I'm trying to find out. They have it's sort of like a Rose engine is this huge device, and you work out a design by hand and then repeat that design. Uh, but I don't know if a CNC is exactly the same or not. That's what we need to find out about. But it's an important question that we need to ask. Hey, Alex. Out of curiosity, have all 100 participants on EDU number two been uh, onboarded? Onboarded? No, we've waterboarded a couple. When no, just about we're finishing that up. That's a good question though, and we're just trying to get. We got a few people who are we're adding, so that's okay too. It's we don't want anybody to stress themselves financially. That's crazy. I mean, if somebody says, "Oh, I really want this watch," we got to have it, but they can't afford it. That's we don't want that. We don't want to hurt anybody in that way. By the way, too, we've had our first $3,300 or 3,000 Swiss francs, and I'm figuring we're gonna have our second one in second uh, call for a transfer, and it'll either be June or July. Now, my advice to all of you, at least is to me as well, is get your savings together for that and be prepared for it. I'm selling a couple watches to help my preparation. But it's something that we, like I said, we all need to be aware of and remember because, I mean, we're spending a lot of money on this watch. You realize that Lyrique is investing about $1 million altogether. So we're not exactly chump change. I mean, we're not one of these big companies, but on the other hand, we're something, and that's sort of our not nothing, depending on how you look at it. And plus the fact that we're 100 watches is not very much. I mean, in the what Rolex has 1.5 million or something like that every year, and Patek Philippe has about 50, 60,000. We're just at 100. That reminds me, there's something else too that we have this year that's different, or this project that's different. Um, we have 1 watch set aside for the GPHG, and we have another watch set aside for the only watch. Well, I found out that the only watch apparently is very competitive. Not everybody gets to have one of their watches as the only watch, and what we've been prepared to do is to have a little different dial of some sort on it and different colors or something. But we may not get it. They may say, "Well, sorry guys, we only want X, Y, and Z." We'll see what happens on that. However, lucky us, if we find out that if we are not allowed to give a watch, which one of our members who's a doctor is very much for, it's a type of MS that they're fighting. Uh, there's another group for that has it's called it's a pink dial, and I thought, and it's for breast cancer. And so if they say no to that, we'll simply figure out how to get one pinked up, and maybe we'll have pink bands for it too. But those are a couple things. I think it's important to support something other than just ourselves, um, which is it's also important to support ourselves. Okay, mate, I think CNC opens up a lot of possibilities also. We could work with Matu to design some patterns that would be near impossible on a Rose engine, making the end result unique in its own right. Oh, mate, thank you for that. Um, I I will pass it on uh, to Matu. What he's doing right now is, there's some kind of formula or algorithm that they use that they in order to set up a new design, and he's working on getting that right now. They're having a tomorrow is a bank holiday in Switzerland, and so I won't I'll wait until that's over, and we'll try to I'm gonna try to get that moving along, at a little better pace, and so we can have something that we can see. But I like the ideas you have, and I'm sorry if I say your name wrong, Primshi, I like that. Well, let's get some samples and see what the difference is. Let's see. Hey, Apar, have we decided on the dial color? No, we haven't. Those are things that, uh, th I I've got oh, I'll tell you one thing I would like on a dial color. We wanna have something we can look at and read at a glance, alright? Uh, and I like this is what I like about, Etude number 1. I mean, uh, observatory hands are very easy to read. I mean, one's got a big poem at the end and the other one's straight, so it's not hard to say, "Which one's the hour hand, which one's the minute hand?" So and they've been for a long time, we've been thinking about brigade hands, but never have done brigade hands before. But then there might be some other things that we might want to look at as well, including the color. And see what else was there. Um, oh yeah, the fonts. A lot of people wanted brigade fonts. I'm okay with brigade fonts. I have some watches with brigade fonts, but then I found out something very interesting from Matthew. For some reason that doesn't make a bit of sense is that with most fonts, you can simply, go into a font store. I've done it and buy a font that you want. Apparently, with a brigade font, they all have to be made separately, and I don't know why. But if we do go with a brigade font, we're going to have a unique brigade font, which does sound pretty cool. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be going with that kind of font. We'll take a look at some fonts and see what we all like. Um, okay, we decided on the color of the hands and numerals. Expert 37, no, that'll go with I mean, the whole color scheme, I think, is something that's gonna be important to look at. I think that, um I love color, so I think having a colorful dial, would be fine. I think, in fact, a two-tone dial, maybe one color for the, main dial and then another color for the sub-dial with 2 different colors, guilloché. But that's me, I get maybe people say, "That sounds stupid," and, oh, I hope they don't put it that way. Say something, well, maybe not. But that's something that we can look at, and a lot of times it's sort of like we'll get an Easter egg from, Matu is that, "Look at this." None of us had thought of that, and he comes up with this. He has a totally original font for, the Etude number 1. In fact, he had to change the number 8. He had this unusual number 8 for us, and what happened was that, on the back of on the using the font on our case, it didn't come out right because I think it was this unusually shaped 8 with a big top and a little bitty bottom, and gotta get that squared away. Okay, the 102nd watch should be donated to a great cause. Yeah. I think this is one thing. Another thing I'm going to ask, I'm gonna talk to the people at, Wooten, Lannon, and Caton and say, like, we'd like them numbered from 1 to 100 and then have a 00 number, both for the one we're gonna send to, the Grand Prix, and then also 00 for, the one that, we're gonna donate either with the Pink Dial Group or with the Only Watch. I hope it's for the Only Watch because, like I said, one of our doctors is very, very much, is had worked on that kind of, multiple sclerosis before. Okey doke. Let's see what you got here. Alex, do we have an idea of how much adding features to a dial costs? For example, having multiple Gilo shape patterns. That's a good question, Alex. We will have to ask. That's a great question. I hadn't thought of that. Um, we're yeah, but it's important. We've already budgeted for it on the basis of some rough numbers that we were given, but we've gotta what I'm trying to do is make sure that, with, Combley Mean that we have something that fits our budget. Uh, Everybody wants something that fits their budget. Well, we need some things that fits our budget too, and I think we can do that. We're a little more knowledgeable than we were before. Will there be indexes, numerals be applied, or is it still to be determined? It's still something we're gonna see. Um, I I don't know yet. I think if we go with brigade numbers, we'll be using, Arabic numbers. If we go with something else, we may use Roman numerals, we may use only indexes. I'll tell you right now, I'm not crazy about just indexes, but, we may end up with a watch that says, "Well, that would look really good," and so this is how we have to look at it. We've got I think, we have to be we have to be flexible, but not loosey goosey. I don't know if that makes any sense. In other words, we have to have a clear goal. We have to know where we're going, but realize that our destination may have different looks to it. I the main thing that we have to make good decisions about this time around is the dial and the hands, the dial and the hands. And so that's going to be very important. Before, gee, we were working so hard on the movement, on where the hands went. We have this sort of this uh, double asymmetric positioning of the second hands, because we just wanted something unique and different, and that was what we got. Okay, any other questions you guys have? If we decide to go with brigade numerals, a brigade font designed just for us by Matthew would be so nice. I agree. It would be very exciting. I have my Vacheron Constantin American 1921 has uh, brigade numbers, and they're really beautiful. But I'd also like to see unique ones by Matthew, what they would be like. I mean, it gives a watch. I mean, with Guy Loche, I think it would really be beautiful. But like I said, we're pretty early now, and I think it's important for us to sort of like sort of keep things fluffy, a little fluffy and loose, so that we can see other options that may come along. Hi, Graham. Has there been any progress on getting a source account? Yes, there has. Let me explain that. Good question. But but uh, right now we have sort of a funny thing set up. Nobody set up a Lyrique LLC. Okay, they've been asked for over a year. Somebody set up an LLC, a Lyrique LLC. Anyone could have done it. Nobody did. All right. So we used my LLC. I had to clean out my bank account, my business bank account, the Sandlight account. And so that was our LLC last time. It's again our LLC we're using this time. But this time I opened up a Swiss Sandlight LLC. Okay. And the purpose of that is so we can get our VAT back. Here's what happens, and Graham, we have, let's say that um, the cases made by Voutier and Caton are shipped to Agenor for the casing, but they bill us with the VAT because it's within Switzerland. All right, and there's some other things like that. So what we decided to do with some help from some of our guys who are in banking have told us, they said, well, if we set up a Swiss LLC with some kind of VAT thing. So we did that. So that's been done. So we have that. So now we'll get our money back. I don't know what we're going to do with it when we get it back, or we send it back to everyone, or put it on the next project. I just don't know. We'll see how that works out. It's the first time we've done it. We also have another expense that we didn't have on our first watch. We did hire um, the guy, Mike Nussbaumer, has a great little company called Admin Assistant. So he's sort of our administrative assistant. In other words, he takes care of so many little detail things that we have. Like what did we just pay for? Oh yeah, there was a 3,100 Swiss franc cost, and then we had some money left over from last time, and so we used that money to pay the Swiss government wanted a bond, okay, for the Lyrique, for the Sandlight LLC in Switzerland. Okay, so that's why, and so he took care of that, and he's take care of some other things. I think, believe me, it would be great if we could just have a regular Swiss bank account. Whenever we paid anything, we'd send it right to them, and Bob's your uncle. That would be nice, but we don't. And we talked about this for a long time. To set one up, it would cost us roughly 20,000 Swiss francs. We'd have to put that into a bank account in Switzerland, and then do some other things, hire some people to be this, that, and so forth. And I just that hasn't been done. We've got people who are bankers who know this stuff, so I'm not touching it. Okay, I don't know, Graham. I hope that answers your question. Hi, Eugene. The new Rolex hands are exactly the same as Etude One. Everyone's copying this, Eugene. There's nothing we can do about it. What an outrage! Yeah, I know. I did notice that. Uh, we have. I got to have a word with the CEO at Rolex. So we'll work out something. I mean, even though not likely, that was the first thought, and seeing such a good price value watch must have stirred up the waters, even if politics didn't allow it. One of the things, Matthew, when you see a watch like that, what is it, 20,000, something like that, or is it only 10,000? One of the two. And it's in gold, and it's got a silicone hairspring. Um, they have a little different, what is it called? The amount that you have when you have large numbers, economy of scale. That's what I'm looking for. They have a much different economy of scale. They can knock out 1,000 of those without even breathing hard. Us, it's taking a lot more work to do 100. But yeah, they've got, and they put in a new movement in it too. I tell you the truth, I really like that watch. I think because it's not like every other Rolex, and it's got you can see through the back and everything. And of course, they had to borrow from somebody for those hands, so why not us? I have to congratulate them on that. Okay, Graham, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, that's something else too. I think it's important for all of us to be as well informed as we can. And that's what we're trying to do. Okay. Anything else you guys like to ask about? And remember too, to use our site, the our Facebook site, our what's it called? Le Groupe Lyrique. I like that. So that was what it's called. Anything else, guys, on this? If anybody has any questions too, you can refer them to because this will be recorded. Okay, Mark, mate, do we have an approximate time for when Matthew would be able to present the Guilloche designs. No, we don't, and I that's one thing I'd like to get. I gotta talk to, Matthew on, Tuesday. Like I said, tomorrow's a bank holiday. They have sort of a an extended Easter holiday in Switzerland, so it's like today and then tomorrow they have a bank holiday, so people can, take their families and go on a little trip, you know, go yodel or whatever the Swiss like to do on trips. I hope they didn't hear me. I really do. Okay. All right. Anything else you guys have? Is there anything you'd like me to ask anybody? One thing I will ask about the timing. You're going to send Etude 2 to the GPHD contest. Do you really think they will allow a group of amateurs to win? GPHD is made up of people from Swiss watchmakers. You bet I do. I think that they're. I found out later. Here's what happened, Eugene. We entered the last one. We were there as an entry, and they were mad at us because we didn't charge enough. That was it. I mean, that was our great sentence. You guys are trying to game this, aren't you? You put in this. We were in the petite aiguille category, and we had it listed as 9,500, which to us was like, a couple $1,000 over what we paid for it. We figured, well, that's plenty. Well, they didn't think so. They thought you guys have much too good of a watch. Couple things about that. It's the Grand Prix de Genève. Our whole watch, except for the case, was made in Geneva. We had a Geneva, a famous, very well thought of Geneva movement maker, a Geneva hand maker, Geneva dial maker, a Geneva buckle and band maker. So I think, we would be, in fact, I think we may be putting a little thumb on the scale, I hope. One of the things I'm working on now, I'm working on a charter because a lot of them don't understand what we're doing. The profit of Lyrique is in the watch. In other words, we're able to get a watch that would cost us, 5, 10 times as much if we just went out and bought it. And we're getting it for a lot less because we're taking care of everything that would normally be done just to get the watch produced. But then we don't have to worry about all of these other overheads. We don't have to worry about marketing costs. We don't have to worry about advertising costs. We don't have to worry about warehousing, anything. Everything is all sold uh, to us right off the bat. I'm going to do a video on that on tomorrow. I'm going to try to explain a lot of that, and then we'll have our charter. And I think it's important for them to understand that Lyrique is one of the best things that ever happened to independent watchmaking, independent Swiss watchmaking. Because, like I said, this project we're pumping in about $1 million into the Swiss economy, and so yeah, uh, I think GPHG, and we've got, believe me, we have some very very good friends. I mean, here we've got two parts of our watch now by Butenladen. We've got Agenor for our movement. We've got friends in the right places. I think what I'm very optimistic about this time. If we at least we could make um, the first cut, I think that'd be great. Otherwise, right now we're feeling like Rolex. Rolex put up two watches in 2007, and neither one of them even made the cut. So we maybe that's why they copied our hands. They said, "Well, those guys learned a lesson. Let's see if we can too." Okay, Alex, I think the case is now part of the Geneva Seal, and since the case isn't made in Geneva, not sure if that's qualified. Well, the watch is made in Geneva. There's a certain percent of the watch, and um, I the Geneva Seal. Is something that we probably could get a Geneva seal on this, okay, if we wanted to. But I tell you, there'd be extra cost to it. It would take extra time. There'd just be a lot of extras added to it. Let me tell you what I think is a much better idea is simply to have it done. I did mine individually. I sent it to the Horological Society of New York. They had the thing, they tested it for 15 days and ran it through all of these things, and we passed. I mean, it was like a chronometer grade watch. So I'm very happy about that. And another one that I think is very cool is Besançon in France. It's just over the border, up in Besançon, where they have an observatory. That's where uh, Laurent Ferrier has his chronometer tested. The reason I would like to have a chronometer tested by Besançon is that they have a serpent's head stamp. So I thought it'd be really cool to have a serpent's head stamp. I don't know. By and large, I think that um, it's something that we probably it'd be sort of cool to have. I don't think we need it, but if we want to, there are different options. I guess we could look at on them. I don't know. Maybe we could go to them and say, "Hey, we want to do this on an individual basis." I don't know how they do it. See, one of the things that I think is important that the COSC doesn't do is that you really need to have a movement encased. There's different effects that has, and I know that Meta requires an in-case testing. So does the Horological Society of New York. The only problem is you lose your watch for 2 weeks, 15 days as they're pumping the poor thing through all kinds of different weather and angles and you name it. But it's sort of fun. Uh, yeah, Premshi, that's and we have to explain that, and we have to explain. I think the important thing that the Swiss watchmaking community needs to hear is that we're very good for them. We're not trying to make a bunch of cheap watches. Everything that we have on this watch was from the very best. We have the best hand maker, we have the best movement maker, case maker, everything. And I think that's important for them to know because we're not, some Rudy Poo bunch of guys trying to make a quick buck or anything like that because we're not. Yeah, we're different from everyone else and not in competition with the companies in GPHG. Yeah, we're not, but I think the recognition is in poor. Can we get a Geneva seal? We could, but I don't know if we'd want to or not. Um, Eugene, it's something I could, if you want, I could find out what it would cost and stuff. Okay. Would it would definitely be tool to get an official certification, but I've heard that the logistics get complicated and the cost up, not to mention it would probably push back delivery. Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty much it, Alex, in a nutshell. If we get a Geneva seal for the movement and COSC, we'll have a better chance. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know if that's correct or not. There are very few. If you look at the watches, look at FP Journe. He didn't have a Geneva seal. He could care less. You take a look at the winners of the Grand Prix, and they don't have Geneva seals. It was very few watches have it because where I think one of the things that happened, it was sort of a Patek Philippe put the kibosh on it almost. Uh, Roger Dubuis, all of those have Geneva seals. Vacheron Constantin has Geneva seals. There was one Chopard, I guess, had enough companies in Geneva so that they could put theirs up for a Geneva seal. Um, Again, I'm pretty sure that it wouldn't affect uh, anything on the GPHC. I mean, if it did, maybe it'd be worth it. But we'll find out what it would cost and how long it would take. I know what Agador is going to say. They're going to roll their eyes at me like, "Come on, guys." So, but I'll check. Hey, mate, agree with Alex. If the chronometer certification is not adding that much to the overall price, even better, if covered by the 9,900, it'd be definitely up for that stamp. Okay. But I got to tell you, I think what Alex had it pretty well nailed on that. Not something, you know. Hang on a second. I think we have. This is what was sent to me from the Horological Society of New York. This each one of these is 1 day of testing, and so they're 15 days. And you can see, I think they had to put it in, in deep freeze. It lost a few seconds in the deep freeze, but everything we had was way over us, and and it was more strict than COSC. So anyway, uh, if you want that, and I think it's cool to have it, it's $150, and that's it. And you just lose your watch for a couple weeks, which wasn't easy. They took it for a couple weeks, and but like I said, let's find out. That. Rex Hep, Sylvian Pinud, neither of them have Geneva seals. My mind's Geneva seal is no longer a useful seal. Yeah, it'd be cool to have one, but I agree with that. It's just, people look at it and see the other thing about it, you got to be in Geneva. There's another one for Fleurier. There's a Fleurier seal, and they say theirs is much more important. There's Metas, and they say that's more important. All kinds of things. Paddock opted out of the Geneva seal some years ago, and it didn't really hurt their value. Yeah, expert. What they did was that they opted out because they didn't have a choice. I think that the reason that, and I think Paddock Philippe did a dumb thing by having their own seal. To tell you the truth, it's sort of like, here's our seal of approval. Was according to whom? You? Uh, Essentially this. They got their, I think it was about 2009, somewhere in that neighborhood. They got their, they started stuffing, silicon, hairsprings in there, and, Geneva Steel said, "Sorry, guys, we're not gonna buy that." And so, they figured, well, it's either our way or the highway, and they were showing the door, so to speak. On the other hand, Vacheron Constantin, they have a lot of them. So does Roger Dubuis. Excellent watches on that. Maybe we should have a quality Lyrique seal. We'll make our own seal. We'll have a thumbs up. This is our seal. It's a good watch. What is the daily accuracy of Etude one? Oh, well, let's see. It depends on the day and the angle. Oh boy, they told me what it was set for. Now, one of the things, Eugene, is that ours was tested to 6 positions. Most watches are not tested to 6 positions, all right? They're the really inexpensive ones are tested to 1 position, and then maybe 2 positions, and or 3 or 4, but 6, 6 is the most positions I think they have it tested to, and ours was tested to all 6. It says so on the back too. That I think is a real value. I don't know. Let me see if I can show you this. You can see those numbers, and the -3 and 3, I think, is when they put it in the deep freeze. It was one of those, like, they said it was, they strapped it to a satellite, capsule and strapped it to the outside on reentry and did it there. Oh, still passed. Those guys, the guy who is behind this, the guy who is the, forgot his name, but he is a main watch guy that everybody seems to know. So having the Horological Society do it, I'm I'm happy. The reason that it's important to me is that it speaks to the quality of the watch. Remember, we don't have to sell this to anyone. This is our watch. We're our complaint department. We made it. We complained to ourselves. What is the daily accuracy? So that's yeah. Did you see it when I held my card back up there, Eugene? Um, I there's I'll put it up on our site on our page if you like. Anyway, guys, listen. I've got about 4 more minutes, and then I should go now because I have to talk to this other group at 11 o'clock. Okay, and so anyway, is this a good time? And I'll try to get the the right times straightened out for everybody. But it's 10 o'clock on Sunday, okay, and then we can sort of do this on a regular basis because I've got to look at it. I know the guys on the West Coast in California, it's awfully early for them. Great for Europe. I think it's not so bad for the guys in Asia. So anyway, okay, guys. See you next week. Got any questions? Be sure to bring them up, and we will see you then. And like I said, got any questions? Go ahead and ask.